Good evening, welcome, and thank you for joining us. So I hope everyone is doing well and having a good week so far. So I'm Linda Cogswell. I'm an architectural associate with the city's Public Works Department, and I'm the project manager for the Marine Park Playground Upgrade Project on behalf of the Community Services Department. Tonight, I'm joined by my colleagues, Amelia Feichner, Senior Design Manager, and Jeanette Gant, a Community Recreation Manager, as well as our design team led by Landscape Structures, Inc., in close partnership with RHA Landscape Architects Planners, Inc. And so that you'll be able to put a name to a face, I'll leave it to the design team members to introduce themselves as we move through the presentation and the meeting. So I would like to give a brief overview of the project background. But before I do that, I would like to mention that the playground project is one of a couple of improvements coming to Marine Park. The city is in the planning process for a community garden at Marine Park adjacent to the tennis courts. There's an online survey that you can take. So if you're interested, I encourage you to take the short survey. It will be up through July 9th. And you can find the survey as well as further project details at www.santamonica.gov/marinepark. So in a nutshell, the playground project proposes to replace the existing playground at Marine Park with a new, inclusive, universally accessible playground. The Marine Park playground was identified as a priority project following an assessment of the parks and recreation systems, physical conditions, and needs. And it's not surprising that Marine Park was identified as the highest priority, given that the most recent renovation happened around 2000. So essentially what exists today and what you know of Marine Park today is over 20 years old. It's nearing the end of its lifespan and it's in need of replacement. So to avoid any potential closures and to expedite project delivery, we are taking a design build approach and we are hoping to complete design and construction by April 2020. So again, I just wanted to thank you all for accepting our invitation to participate and to be a part of the design process. I'm really looking forward to getting your thoughts and hearing your comments on the preliminary concept. So with that, I'll hand it off to Doug.
Great. Thanks, Linda. Appreciate it very much. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. This is going to be a really great presentation project you're going to be very excited about. So we're looking forward to sharing it with you. A couple of housekeeping issues. Number one, Linda put that website in the chat box. So if you want to get that to go on and take the survey, as well as there's more information on that website about the project if you have questions after tonight. What we'd like to do tonight, we're going to give you a little presentation on kind of what's there, some of the site constraints, and then show you two concept plans that we have. If you have questions, I'd really invite you to type them in the question and answer box. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, you'll see it'll pop up and they'll say Q&A. Just click on that and that box will pop up and you can type in your questions there. We'll either answer them live or someone might type the answer in. So if you have comments that you just want to comment on, you can put those in the chat box. But if it's a question, it's really easier if we put it in this Q&A because then we can answer those and we keep a good record of that. So, and then at the end, we will, take some more comments and questions as we go. So we'll do the presentation. And if you have something that you want to say or bring up that you can't type in, you can always raise your hand at the bottom, click on the raise the hand, and then we can see where we're at in the presentation and go from there. So I'm going to turn this over to Greg Meek, who's a principal with RHA Landscape Architects and been designing playgrounds for 40 years, I think. So he's going to walk you through the site.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. So the picture you're looking at, this is the site location. And this is an aerial view of the park. You can see the ball fields that are to the west of the project. The play area is over to the right, just adjacent to the basketball and the picnic shelter. And Doug, why don't you go to the next slide, because it's, unless you zoom in. Okay, so yeah, this is zoomed in on the project area, which is the play area. And we did kind of a opportunities and constraints analysis of the project site. And one of the first things we noticed is that the access to the play area, really the only accessible location is from the parking lot through the gate. And then you have to go across the flat concrete area to the ramps, and then the ramps take you down to the sidewalk, and then that sidewalk, it takes you over to the birthday pavilion. And it one of the things we noticed is that the park really is doesn't have walkways connecting a lot of the elements. Right now you have to use the grass. So one of the first things we wanted to do is create another access. And since the restroom building is accessible, we decided to create a walkway from there down at the lower level below the parking lot, and then it heads east right to the play area. Then we also wanted to extend it around the play area, and then all the way over to the birthday pavilion on the other side. So this will improve the access into the play area. And then once you get to the play area, the play area is currently sand. So we're proposing to put poured in place rubber surfacing, which is accessible in place of the sand. If you want to go to the next slide. Okay. So the project is going to be included, or the components that are included are an all-inclusive play area, 2 to 5 area for with 2 to 5 age appropriate a structure for the toddlers, and then a 5 to 12 age appropriate play structure. And you'll see that it's a very large structure with a lot of play events. And then some freestanding events around the large structure, which includes swings, and then some shade. It was desired, we wanted to provide shade over the playground equipment. Accessible improvements are the walkways are in and around the play area, poured in place rubber surfacing. And then we are incorporating bridges that that take advantage of the mound and the raised access point that's to the south side of the playground equipment. And you'll see that on the plan. Landscape improvements are minimal. We're proposing to remove the palm trees that are located within the play area and relocate that nearby. It hasn't been determined yet exactly where we're going to put them. Making some irrigation adjustments, creating some planter areas along between the parking lot and the walkway that comes from the restroom. And then we'll be doing turf repair of the areas that are damaged during construction. So these are some pictures, if you haven't been out at to the park site lately, the existing restroom building, and there's a maintenance door. That's kind of where the walkway is going to come from. Yeah, that roll-up door. And then it'll head south along that wall, up to the far right. And we probably will leave it a little space between the wall and the walkway, so there's make some opportunity for planting there. And then it's going to turn the center picture on the top is looking at the existing play area, and it's going to go straight over to that play area and take you there. So this will be a flat level, fairly wide concrete walkway surface. The bottom pictures are just basically showing the existing palm trees are going to be removed. The elevated deck area where the ramp is, and then there is that elevated area with a slide where the steps are going up. We're going to create an access point from that elevated area. These are just some other pictures, just showing some of the existing equipment, the existing swings, overall the existing play area, and then we've got a picture of the large ficus tree, which is going to remain. It's going to be pruned prior to the new equipment coming in, cleaned up so that right now it's hanging over the play area. So we're trying to bring that back a little bit, but the existing trees are going to be retained. So this is concept number 1, and I don't know, it's fairly small, and I don't know, Doug, if you want to zoom in a little bit, or Andrew, whoever's working it, but yeah. So this is showing a plan view. So this is if you're, you know, in a plane looking down at the play area. So you can see the walkway coming in from the restroom. It's kind of a curvilinear walkway, and then it straightens out and goes over to the play area. It then turns south, and there's a couple of benches located in that area. And then it curves east, and there's a series of ramps that get you up to the top of the mound. And from that point, there'll be a bridge that takes you off across onto the structure. And I believe it's 54 inches. You're pretty high up. And zooming in a little bit more, you can see there's a series of bridges and ramps that connect different platforms on the structure, which create a lot of fun, exciting play events that are accessible by wheelchair. The big triangle blue things are shade, and we've got some elevations showing how that's going to look and some photo simulations. And then over to the left, there's the 2 to 5 play structure, which got a really cool design on that I'll wait to tell you about that. And then off to the right, there's some independent play pieces. Well, right in the left, we've got a we-go-round, which is like a merry-go-round that a wheelchair can get on, but it's really cool to watch kids play on it because they spin it, and it takes quite, you know, several kids to get that thing going, but it doesn't go too fast like the old merry-go-rounds, but it's a lot of fun. And then off to the east, we've got the swing area, which has got, we're in this concept one where we've got the 2 belt swings, 2 bucket swings, and then an oodle swing, which we've got a picture of that, but it's basically a swing that several kids get on at one time. It's very similar to a tire swing, but a lot safer. The other thing we're proposing to do is put a fence around the play area with a series of gates so that it will help contain some of the kids. You know, I know that a lot of the youngsters get in there and then they just like to run. And so this makes it a little bit easier for the parents to keep the kids contained in the play area. All right, so this is some photo simulation of what concept 1 would look like. So you can see the big blue shade structures on the being supported by large posts. So this is very heavily shaded, almost the whole shade structure. And if you've been out to the park site, the trees really do provide a lot of shades for people that are, you know, around the play area. But we thought it'd be important because the south side of the play area does get fairly hot on the side that's closest to the basketball court that you can see. So some of the things that you can see in here, you can see that we go round. It looks like a little knob, but you can see there's an opening. The kids can get inside that. It spins in a circle. The 2 to 5 structure in 2 to 5-year-olds really just like, you know, they're still learning to climb up and down stairs, forwards and backwards, and do some simple tactical things. And they're still learning. So it looks like a lifeguard tower. And we did that purpose kind of to support the marine park theme. And then the other thing that makes this play area so much even more fun is that the surfacing. We've created some really cool patterns with the surfacing, which once the kids do all the events on the equipment, they usually, from my experience watching kids play, is that they usually create games of what you can walk on, what you can't walk on, and they follow the leader and chase games and all kinds of fun things. So the rubber surfacing adds to the play value of the site. So do you want to go to the concept 2? Okay, so concept 2, which the main differences of concept 2 are that there are, the shade is attached to the play structure, so they're smaller. They still provide adequate shade. It's just that we don't have the great big single post or independent post shade. And the structure is very similar. Actually, the concept 1 has 65 play events on it, and concept 2 actually has a few more. It has 67 play events. Concept 1 did have a lot of theming, a lot more theming, surfboards, had an old Volkswagen bus and some other things that you'll see in the 3D rendering or tour that we're going to do. And but the surfacing is also a little bit different here. We included some kind of a bike trail running through some of the play areas. There's a little bit more sand color, a little bit less water, and we're not using green as a third color on this one. Yeah, both play structures have three slides. There's a 48-inch double slide, a 48-inch fire pole, and then there's a 56-inch slide winder. Oh, and actually a 96-inch high whoosh winder. So a lot of fun things. There are slides, panels, climbers. There's 14 climbers on these structures. A total, like I said, the total events are 65 and 67. So there's just the kids it's going to be hard to get the kids off of it. So I think the next best thing to do would be to go to, we have a,
Andrew, we'll go ahead and have Andrew do the fly through. Each fly through is about 2 minutes long. So you get to kind of walk through this. And after that, then we can do a couple of polls and find out what you guys think about this. And you can also be answered. So is everybody seeing that? I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that there's a Ferris wheel climber, and that's kind of to be signified kind of sort of Santa Monica. You know, you think of the Ferris wheel at the beach. There's that oodle swing, which is a disc that's attached and it swings all around and multiple kids can play on it. Some of the other things we're seeing, there's the 2 to 5 lifeguard tower, which has got a double 40-inch double wide slide on it. It's got some activity panels. There's the we go round. Now we're going up the ramp onto the structure from the elevated deck up to an elevated deck. And this is concept 1, where we've got a Santa Monica Pier sign. And you can see there's all kinds of activity panels, and it's moving pretty fast, so I'm not going to be able to name them all, but there's wind chime panels, there's finger mazes, there's, let me see some of them. The xylophone panel, ring a bell panel, driver panels, storefront panels, a bongo beach pave. Oh, that's a panel, yeah. Rain sound wheel, that's a periscope panel there that you can look through and look out into the park. And now we're going down actually one of the slide winder slides. And you can see there's a square net climber, a shark in the surfacing. And then we get down and we see some of the ground level panels. There's a ground level driver panel behind the Volkswagen van. We use the Muscle Beach thing, but it was changed to like the muscle that grows on the rocks instead of, arm and leg muscles. So now we're going into the swing area. You can see there's the oodle swing and the bucket swings and the belt swings. Now it's coming back around. So you can see because all the decks are connected by ramps and bridges, that there's just a ton of elevated events, but then there's also 14 climbers. So there's a lot of different ways for the kids to be able to get onto the deck. And they're all different types, all different challenge levels and different heights. So it's a lot of fun. So that is concept 1. Oh, now we're starting concept 2, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So you can see some of the things. We still have the we go around. We still have the lifeguard tower.
The shade's one of obviously the major differences. So we'll be asking for your thoughts on that in the poll coming up. So think about that.
Yeah. And instead of the Ferris wheel, there's like a web climber. It's the same swings, just different surfacing pattern in this area. Hammerhead shark in the middle of the swing area. There's the 2 to 5-year-old lifeguard tower. And then we're going to go up the ramp again.
And that we go around can be pushed by someone from the outside, or the kids inside can actually grab that center wheel and rotate it on their own too. So it can move in two different ways. And it's flush, so you can, there's no lip or you can walk right in or roll right in.
There's a net climber, some ring climber, finger maze, steering wheel. There's a talk tube on it. There's the periscope panel again. And we're going to go down the slide winder slide. And this is off a 96-inch deck, so it's 8 feet tall.
You can see that the shade is not as much on this, so there's more sunlight than the other one with the bigger shade sails. So something to think about.
Okay, so what we're looking for is, we want to hear what you liked, what you didn't like. If you have favorite play events that you didn't see or you don't know if they're included. Any comments or questions?
I'm going to do a couple polls here really quick. I should have done this first one when we started and I forgot, so sorry about that. But this one, let's go ahead. It's just 3 questions. We just kind of want to kind of find out who's on the call, or who's on the meeting and kind of where you're from. So just answer those questions real quick, and this gives us an idea of who's here and how many times you've been at the park. And this group's doing pretty good. A lot of people are answering the question. I like them. So we got 4 more that haven't answered, and that's okay. It's like we're pretty much ready to wrap up. So their results looks like all but 1 lived in Santa Monica, so that's good. Most all of you have visited the park in the last year, and it looks like more than 5 times. So good. So that's great news, because now we know we have people that use the park and they're familiar with the park. So then those are really the opinions we want, people who have been there a lot and really understand what they're doing. So that's great. So I'm going to launch the second poll, which is kind of more about the design, which concept you prefer. Do you like the shade sails or attached or large? And then, question about the colors and the surfacing. On both surfacing and color questions, if you don't like what you see, go ahead in the chat box. You can put in other ideas or things you might want to see changed on that. But go ahead and fill out poll number 2, and we'll see how everybody likes it. Oh, we're halfway there. All right, maybe about 10 more seconds, and then we'll end this one and see what the results are. Okay. So, wow, that's pretty good. Unanimous concept 1. That's great to know. Looks like people like the separate shade sails more than the attached ones. You like the colors chosen, 8 to 5, so a little bit more in favor of them. But again, I said in the chat box, go ahead and put any suggestions you have for colors. And looks like the other one with the graphics and colors for the surfacing, kind of about the same, 9 to 4. And then, like I said, if you said no and you weren't happy with that, go ahead and just type in what you don't like, what you'd like to see. And I mean, this is just our first rendition, so we're open to making changes, and that's what this meeting is all about, kind of finding out what you like and don't like. And if you like something on it, primarily the structures are pretty similar, but if there's something on concept 1 you like, but you like to see it on concept 2, although it seemed like concept 1 was 100%, so probably move in that direction, and then just make some tweaks to colors and surfacing based on comments we get. So someone asked if there was sand in either design. There is not. We are not doing any sand. Sand doesn't mix well with the rubber surfacing, as you probably have seen out there in other parks. It gets on there and becomes like a sandpaper grating, and it wears out the rubber surfacing pretty quickly. So we don't have any sand planned. If that's something you really want to see, type it in the comments. We'd love to see sand, or at least a sandbox somewhere where we can separate it out from the surfacing. And the other question I think that was answered was the concrete ramp that goes up here to the playground. It was a little bit of a misdrawing on the very first site plan we showed. We showed a walkway going all the way to the birthday pavilion. Right now, the way you get the pavilion would be go across the surfacing, which is all accessible surfacing. And that would get you to the pavilion. You wouldn't need to go up the ramp and back down again. So, let's see. So someone else, Melanie is asking about the sand. So yeah, we can look at maybe trying to find a place to put sand, keeping it away from the surfacing. We'll talk with the city about that and how they want to maintain that. But yeah, I know, I agree. My kids were growing up, sand was a real popular thing, so I understand that comment for sure.
This is Jill Moore. I work with Landscape Structures. I'm our inclusive play specialist. I also grew up with a disability and am addicted to sand. I'm at the beach as we speak, so pretty excited to do that. And a great option for that to maintain the integrity of the rubberized surfacing and also get that really rich sand play and that tactile feedback. There might be a chance to throw in a sand table. That might be worth thinking about, Doug, or something like that that's raised. So there's still ways to get it without totally losing it. We can get creative on.
Yeah, it looks like it's a pretty popular item just popping up, and that's good. That's what this meeting's about. So we really appreciate those comments, whether it's in the Q&A or in the comment or the chat box. So thanks for bringing that up, because we really that's what we're looking for. Someone's asking, Lisa's asking about would a splash pad be possible, theme with marine theme. The cost of a splash pad, unfortunately, we've done a lot of them, is anywhere between $600,000 to $800,000, depending on what you do. They're treated like a pool, even though they're not a pool. They have to be recycled. Water all has to be recirculated through a system that chlorinates it, keeps it health, keeps the health and welfare for all the people using it. And the cost of it, and for this site, the budget's not there to do that. So unfortunately, that would not be part of this design, though I know they're fun and and they're good to have. So, and then another one was also the west side of that park is very sunny. Can we add other trees there since the palm trees will be removed? Yeah, we could look at adding a couple of trees there between the basketball court and the walkway. That shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, on all the comments you got about a rotating climber, some bright primary colors, children love the sand, not all pastels. So that's fine. That's good to know. Yeah, we can make those type of changes. Those are easy to do. And all these this is all recorded. I mean, we have all the text we keep that, so we'll go back and review all that with city staff and make sure that
So to give you, I see a couple comments on color from a manufacturer perspective and also inclusion that I love pointing out is something that we do is all of the colors we offer are actually based off of a natural color. So tangerine, they actually got it from a tangerine. And so that's, I mean, I see lots of color and questions asking about naturalistic and things like that. So when you ask that, I just want to make sure everybody knows that they do come off looking, they're not all neon and crazy primary colors and Mardi Gras pretty much. It's pretty down to earth. And the cool thing about it is that's really good from that inclusive perspective if it's not as overwhelming for kids with sensory processing or developmental disorders. So however it gets done, whatever color choice is chosen there for sure. A lot of thought went into the color itself, which I think is just a nice fun fact.
That's good to know. Thanks, Jill. That's a really good point. Those are some things we, tend to maybe overlook sometimes when we're designing for all accessible stuff. Is not just in a wheelchair or in a walker or anything. It's auditory, sensory, autism, a lot of different things that also apply. So that's a great point that Jill brings up. So if there's, go ahead and keep topping. And there's another comment about the walkway. Is there a way we can create access from Marine to the playground without having to enter the parking lot? Oh, from the street? I don't know if there's a way to do that. Well, the palm trees, we're gonna relocate the palm trees on site somewhere. We might relocate them out here in this area. So you won't, those are really great palms and we'd like to keep them. They just don't fit well within the structure area, but we'll move them. They won't disappear. Actually, it's not black. Someone said a question of black. It's actually it's a brown. It just looks black kind of in this rendering. So it's a good point, but it's more of a kind of a medium bark brown than black. So Celia's asking about fencing requirement. Linda, you want to address the fencing issue a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, so for the fencing, we're going to have it to act as, a safety measure to separate the playground from the other areas of the park. And we just feel that by doing that, it's going to, alleviate any safety or maintenance issues that we may come across having it open. I'm seeing if there's.
Oh, someone's asking when I put design 1 on the screen. Sure, we'll do that.
And then, yeah, I think we do like, kind of how the existing condition is now with children being able to move between the play area and the lawn. And so what we hope to do is to still allow that access and that flow with some gates along the southern edge. And then there was a comment about a walkway without having to enter the parking lot. So another resident actually had that same comment. So I did already start to explore that internally within the city. I reached out to our mobility division. And, it's a tricky site. The new pathway that we're putting in between the restrooms and the playground definitely helps to address your comment. But it doesn't, there's still a segment of the parking lot that you would have to navigate to get to the playground. And it looks like it would require reconfiguring the parking, which I think would be a challenge given just the space that we have. And then there was a comment about accessing the play area from the dirt pathway, but it wouldn't be accessible. And then also I don't believe it's currently lit. So there would be lighting considerations that we would, the other one, the one along the eastern edge.
Oh, up here, right here.
Yeah. But that segment is identified in the bike action plan as a future improvement. And so it's definitely on the city's radar to improve that connection. And I think when that happens, there will be the opportunity to look at creating an access point to the play area in the park.
So Cecilia's asking a question about infant accessibility. Many infants and toddlers enjoy the openness of the sand and grass. This will present as a high traffic space, both with the fencing and then the amount of structures compacted together. Yeah, you're right. Well, obviously there's not the open sand areas that we have on the other one, on the current one. We'll look at introducing that into the play area somehow, somewhere, maybe not next to the matting, so it's kind of a problem. The open grass area is going to still be there, but you're right, the fencing will create somewhat of a barrier there. But the open grass is not going to be affected at all. That everything to the south, kind of under the trees, is still going to be there. So, and everything to the west. So, let me get back to that one.
I will, say that over the years, elements have been removed from the play area because they've just aged out, or they couldn't be repaired because you couldn't find the parts. And so I think that's what's out there today, wasn't what was originally designed 20 years ago. And so maybe Mike could speak a little bit about the balance between maximizing play features versus, keeping more of like an open, because I think around each play equipment, there is a buffer. So Mike, if you could talk a little bit about that.
There is the safety zones that are mandatory in the state of California and the rest of the country. There are most of the rest of the country. They're called guidelines that are followed for public parks. In the state of California, they're actually regulations, they're laws. So these little dotted lines, if you might point at them, those are called use zones, and they sort of magically exist around all of our play equipment. You can see that in some cases they overlap, but that's sort of rare. There are all kinds of subtleties there. Bottom line is you basically have 6 feet around any piece of equipment that's open for circulation, and it has fall absorbing surface on it. In this case, we're using rubber. That provides quite a bit of elbow room in reality. When you're on the site, you've got 9 to 12 feet between one element and the next. And we left some wiggle room around the edges. So I think it almost becomes a sense, what you had there before was really very sparse. There wasn't a lot of use of that area. It was a great sand play area, but there wasn't a lot of use for play events and physical challenges and spinning and swinging and all these different things that we're providing here in wheelchair access. So yes, this will be a little bit more dense, a little denser, but I still think, and I don't know if we can get that feeling from our fly-throughs, Doug and Greg, where we get sort of a ground level shot from around the, This is exactly the one.
Yeah, so you're still going to have all the grass. I know when I was out there, everything behind these benches, that was all grass. That's all going to be open still. It's not going to go away under the 2 trees. And then everything off here between the basketball court and then all around to the right side, that's all going to stay. We're not going to do anything there. The mound will still be there. So you're not going to lose any of that. So all we're doing is just kind of adding about a 7 foot wide walkway out beyond the playground. So you have place to, do wheelchairs and strollers and walk and have accessibility. But other than that, the grass is all going to stay. So yeah, I noticed that when I was out there was a lot of people hanging out in the grass areas beyond the playground.
Yeah, so essentially, Doug, we're not expanding the footprint of that play area. We're simply modifying it somewhat. So yeah, we're not impinging on the existing.
Just the walkway a little bit.
The walkway, which is, I think, 5 feet wide. And the actual playground area, yes, it's a little bit more dense, but for example, if you see the round thing in the front there, it's called the We-Go-Round. And then there's a post for the shade structure and a small spring toy, and then a transfer module. That's how you access the lifeguard stand. The distance between those two is probably 22 feet between the transfer module and the We-Go-Round, with just a single spring toy so it is, it's relatively wide open. Once you get into the structure, it's quite dense, and we want it that way. We want these things to be connected so kids can go from one thing to the next and use these different elements simultaneously. So that it's almost a sense of taste of how you want this to look. We could make it less dense, but I think you lose a lot of play value.
Any other questions or comments? Like Linda had mentioned, there's a website here that you can go to, and you can email Linda with comments, make comments that you may think of after you leave tonight. And then I think, Linda, will you be putting these on the website? The
Yeah.
2 plans? Yeah, so the 2 plans will be there with the rendering, so you can see those. So if someone couldn't attend or couldn't be at the meeting, they can look at that and give us comments and take the survey. So.
I'm just answering a question. So if there are any others, feel free to enter into the Q&A, and I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. Yeah, Melanie, on that, she's asking about will there be gates, and there are. I'll go back to that plan. So if you look at, we'll go back to the one everybody likes, which is very similar. So as you come down this walkway, there's a gate here, and those will just be left open. It's only going to be locked if the city needs to close down the playground for any reason. So there's a gate here. There'll be a gate here on top of the mound. There'll be a gate over here by the birthday pavilion, another gate over here by picnic tables in this grass area. And then you have access, everything up here from the building, all is open like it is now. So it'll be the same. So you'll be able to get in and get out of the grass areas, through a gate here and a gate here, and then over by the pavilion. Okay. Well, I really think, here's another question. Can you make a search for inputs as you move forward with plans? What do you mean by make consideration for input? I'm not sure what means for them areas for them to play in. Is that, I'm not sure I understand what consideration you're looking for. Yes, okay. Yeah, we'll consider that. I think there is, as Mike said, there is a lot of space out there, especially over here in this area, where it looks like there's a lot of elements, but there really is a lot of space. And then we're not doing anything behind here in the grass areas, but we'll take a look at that and take that into consideration. So. Yeah,
and just briefly, there's another side to that would be the east side, right? The swing play area, the swinging area. We left that, isolated that because that's the best way to do it. People aren't traveling through the two-fro swing zones, and those are very wide swing zones. So, and then we've got a 5-foot path on top of that. So actually, that side of the playground it's pretty wide open, and the posts and the swing sets are pretty sparse as far as equipment hanging in front of you. So that end will be pretty wide open. It's just the area with the ramp structure and the play events all functionally linked. That's where it gets a little dense.
So I don't see any other questions or comments coming in. Thank you for your patience as I personally try to navigate a virtual meeting. So this is not the final design. We will take your comments and input into consideration, and you will have an opportunity to see, a revised concept, and we'll post information to the project website. So check, or if you'd like to just send me an email, I'll make sure to reach out to you with, once we have more updates for public input.
There's a question, Linda, maybe you can answer that. Cecilia's asking, are we working with the school next door to the park?
Yeah, so we are coordinating with the Growing Place. I don't know if you have a more specific question in terms of, in working, but, we're trying to coordinate the construction phase with the Growing Place to minimize any impacts to operations. And let them know of opportunities for public input.
I saw Alyssa's comment. We just got a fourth graders vote for more swings. Swings are a challenge space-wise because of the requirements for how much safety zone we have to have. So it's very tough to get, and I know swings are popular, so I'm not trying to downplay swings, but you use up a lot of space. As you could see in the playground that in the design we have, and as Mike had mentioned earlier, you can see these safety lines and where we have to be. So it really gets tight. I mean, just getting in these 4 swings plus, you know, this other kind of a multi-swing, we're using up pretty much all of that space. So we can look at that, but it is swings take up a lot of, safety zones take up a lot of area. And so we are a little more limited on how many we can put in. I'm happy we have space to put in what we have, because sometimes we get playgrounds where we can't even get any swings in because of the size. So.
And Doug, just a quick one on that oodle swing. That's a really neat. It's actually a multi-user. It's not just for a single child at one time.
Right.
I've seen 3 or 4 kids pile into it, and it's a great little event.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tire swing. I mean, you can kind of see it here in the rendering. I mean, that's kind of the closest thing you could probably, you know, attribute it to, is like the old tire swings where everybody could jump on there and have a good time. So. All right, well, great. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate, thanks, Andrew, appreciate the comment. Thanks for coming. And just, if you want to be alerted to this, I mean, we'll obviously put information on the website about the next meetings, and the city staff will reach out again. If you want to make sure you get identified, have send your email to Linda, and she'll keep a list of everybody who wants to be notified, and then we'll get back in touch with you for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Albert. Have a great evening, and we'll see you again when we have our new design.